Thank you for tapping into Critical Thoughts. I'm your host, Braxton Smith, and today is April 22nd, 2017. Today we're going to be we're going to be continuing that homogenization series I've been working on. Got my notes here. Today we're going to be talking about music. Alright, so I thought about dividing this up into two parts. I'm trying to do like a promotional deal where we have a contest involved with all this. I'll be talking about that more at the end. But so again, I was thinking about dividing it up into two parts, but I decided to condense it into one. So there's from the way I look at it, there's a physical and emotional aspect to it, or even philosophical. But there's definitely a physical, and then like your psychological, emotional, philosophical side of it all with the music, right? So I believe music is huge in culture. I mean, to me, it's one of the biggest. I mean, it's right there with food. Every country has their own kind of music, their culture, those that haven't been completely Americanized. All right, so, I want to start with the physical aspect of it, right? So, one of the things I wanted to tackle first was bringing up the idea that I'm sure you're all familiar with someone talking about listen to how loud my sound system is, I mean, hell, I've done it. We've all done it at some point. We didn't know any better, but, somebody goes to blast their sound system in their car, right? So it's almost like they base the quality of the sound on how loud it is. But, like a car horn can be loud, a train horn can be loud, a gunshot can be loud, but does that mean that it's quality sound? Right, so, another problem they have is, mixing it, for example. Some people also with their car system, they think bass, that hard-hitting bass. And I even tell my brother about this, and he won't listen to it, but he swears he's all about that bass. But, there's the middle, and then there's the treble, too. And I'm sure there's more intricacies to that, but that's the basics. So you got to have a balance. There is such a thing as a balance. And if you super saturate with bass, it drowns out all the other intricacies, and you never actually hear the true quality of the music. No matter how simple or basic the music is, if all you have is that bass, you have that bass guitar, it's just blaring your ears out, and you never even hear the lyrics. And there's lots of other intricacies you never hear too that might be incorporated depending on how much thought and time and imagination the artist put into the song. So don't judge a quality off the sound of the bass or the volume. Good example of that. One of the best examples I can think of is I went to a Marilyn Manson concert, and big fan of Manson, just his music anyways. And I went to one of his concerts, and it was just blaring, and I wish I had hearing protection on. I felt like it was blowing out my eardrums. It was real bad. It's like when you go to a club, and they're just blaring loud music. It's really annoying, obnoxious, and just blows your eardrums out. And it's uncomfortable. I'm not a big fan of his concerts, but then, I went to a Nine Inch Nails concert, and I'll be bringing them up a lot, so don't think I'm worshiping them. I have my issues with them, but I tell you what, they run a good concert. They know how to mix their sounds. They're very OCD about that. They mix it. And I was literally front stage of Nine Inch Nails, speakers right in my face, and they were blaring it like it was moving the hairs on my body, and my ears felt just fine. I actually felt more comfortable. There's less ear fatigue than when I was at the Manson concert, getting my eardrums blown out from the back row. So, there's something to be said about quality. It's like something else I wanted to bring up was the fact that, people, you think about how do you prefer to listen to music at home, right? You like to listen to it on studio quality, right? The studio version. Nobody really likes to listen to the live version at home because, the live version misses out on certain, the recordings. Whenever they go to record it, it's just not quite the same recording equipment or quality that you can find in the studio. However, if you got to choose between sitting in your living room and listening to a band on decent equipment or going to a concert and listening to it live, which would you pick? Obviously, you would pick live because you're listening to it directly. There is no recording, there is no transition. You're listening to 100% quality sound. And it's all about the experience, too, A lot of these live performances, every one of them is different, right? If you got a good artist, anyways. If not, then it's all the same. You might as well sit in your living room and listen to it. But yeah, there's the experience and the sound quality is totally different. And with a lot of CDs, for example, CDs actually don't contain the entire quality that is recorded at a sound studio. A lot of people don't know that. If you ever go to download stuff onto your MP3 file, you'll see it has a compressed version of it. And the thing is most people don't pick up on the intricacies, so they don't bother with having the uncompressed version. You might as well have the compressed version of it and be done with it. It's like you can rip stuff from YouTube, but if you ever pay attention, I did this recently. You listen to a YouTube version where you ripped it and uploaded it to your library. If you listen to it with some good quality speakers, there's no comparison versus if you actually got even the CD version, or better yet, if you can actually download straight from their website and get the studio quality. But even then, you're talking about damn near a full gig to make that happen. So I mean, there's like a lot of intricacies people miss out on, and it's like you think about the sound systems of your cars. Most of them are speakers are blowing out. People are listening to them on that. People listen to them on the laptop or Skull Candy, the cheap earphones. And it's like, for me, the baseline of quality is Bose. Like that's like bare minimum. I don't hardly listen to a song that has intricate parts to it unless I have something where I can hear it on. Otherwise, it's like the song's like okay, because it's like the small details. The devil's in the details, especially with music. At least for me, anyways. And starting to move towards the emotional aspect here. I think I've pretty much knocked out all the sound quality thing. So yeah, getting to the emotional aspect of it. So I think the best way I can describe this is, if you ever listen to a song that just moved you so much emotionally, you get goosebumps, or your hair raises up on your arms when you listen to it. Like that's when you're starting to listen to profound music. If you ever see somebody like sitting at an opera, crying at an opera, if you ever listen to truly good music, it will move you to the point where you don't no longer have control of your emotions. They're overwhelmed and they're running rampant, and you might shed a tear or two. I mean, I do it sometimes. Even I've got Two Steps from Hell does it for me a lot. That's a good example. And it's like I can't even explain it. It just builds up this emotion inside of you. It just evokes this experience that just can't be felt with all this poppy crap that's out there. But you get good speakers, and you get a good moment in your life, and you're listening to just the right song. It'll bring tears to your eyes. And if it's not doing that, maybe you should, I don't know, expand your mind a bit on music, and definitely get a better sound system. Otherwise, you miss the details, and it's like I don't know. It's just lower quality, and you miss out on the experience. Another thing, and ties into the contest, is for me, lyrics are huge. But I've listened to some musicals where they don't even have lyrics, and it'll paint this very vivid picture in my head. It's kind of like whenever you read a really well written book. And then a few years later, you find yourself watching the movie, and you swear you've seen the movie before, because the book was so well written that it painted such a vivid picture in your head that you didn't hardly even need to watch the movie, right? I'm sure some of you have been there, maybe not. But that's what music does for me. Sometimes I can just listen to music and it paints a very vivid picture in my head, and it's experiencing it on multiple levels rather than just hearing it one ear and out the other. Giving me the stomach flutters. It's sending me to a whole nother realm, really. Starting to sound like Alex Jones on LSD there with that one, but I think you get the idea. But where are we? Okay, so one of the problems I've been having with a lot of music lately is that it lacks that content. It's completely incapable of pulling that off, right? A lot of this pop music that's out there. Granted, I listen to Rob Zombie, okay. It's his lyrics are pretty goofy, right? Talks about dig through the ditches and burn through the witches, and you're just like, yeah, and you don't know what the hell he's talking about, but it just sounds cool and it makes you feel great, and that's cool and all, but it shouldn't be the sum of the music you've listened to. It should, balance, like we were talking about earlier with treble, middle, bass. I mean, same thing with types of music. There should be some that are painting you a pictures, other ones that are just giving you adrenaline rush, and then some that you just chill to. Like, I don't know, Gorillaz is pretty good with that. But it goes all ways. The Soldier Boy is a good example. I mean, I'm reading some of the lyrics, and it's like I'm not even going to read them out loud because I feel dumb singing them. But I understand that. That's just like Rob Zombie. It gets you crunk, if you will. But some lyrics I do have a problem with. It's social engineering. I can get in more into that later if you don't know what I'm talking about with that. Social engineering is basically where someone's trying to push a policy directly or indirectly and to try and change things by influencing the culture. This is why, to me, a culture is so huge. Like, this is the forefront of how you win any kind of movement is by affecting the culture and bringing enlightenment to it if you're trying to affect it positively. But how are you doing that when you have Savage 21 singing a song like wet your mama's house, wet your grandma's house, keep shooting until somebody die? First of all, the grammatical implications of this, horrendous. He continues on with, so many shots, the neighbor looked at the calendar, thought it was 4th of July. Okay, so basically talking about shooting up a neighborhood. And apparently that's what millennials are into. I ride in the cars with some of my friends, and the moment I listen to that, lesson learned, never ride with that friend again. Or if I do, bring sound canceling earphones, because it's absolute trash. A lot of this stuff's being forced down our throats, and it's social engineering. You don't realize it, but subconsciously you are being programmed with television, music, and I know I sound like a grandpa here, don't have a single gray hair on my head, but I sound like a grandpa talking about this. But if you really pay attention to it and you think this stuff's playing in your mind, this guy, he talks about how successful he is, 12-car garage, etc. And, he's telling you how he lives his life by treating people with total belligerence and disrespect and basically just being an animal. And what do you think? I mean, when that's playing in your subconscious and you get into a situation where it's like, somebody just disrespected me, well, it's time to end his life. I mean, that's the first thing that's going to pop in your head. That's what Mr. Successful does. I mean, lighting the neighborhood up like 4th of July, right? So, not a big fan of trashy music like that. To me, it's just straight up trash. I like songs with deep lyrics where it's like, my favorite example is Year Zero by 9 Inch Nails. The whole album is written after, and it's almost like curtailed to 1984. Like, if you ever read the book 1984 and then you listen to the album Year Zero, they go hand in hand together. Like, he paints a picture with that album that is eerily similar to the picture painted by the book 1984. So that's why that's my number one choice. And if you go to the contest, obviously going to get more in the details on that here later tonight. But that's something you want to take into consideration is something that actually paints you pictures, something that you can actually build off of and like tell stories of. It's not just a spur of the moment, gives you your endorphins and makes you feel great for a second. Like, it's something that's timeless, classic, that will never die. At least not in the minds of the logical, as pretentious as that sounds. I guess I'm trying not to sound pretentious here, but I mean, for fuck's sake, with lyrics like that, come on. So yeah, I think that's about it. That's about all I got. Something I wanted to touch on before I finish it all with is the there's a lot of these ads and jingles. They're catchy, right? They're designed by sociologists. They have these algorithms built into it. In fact, there's a video a friend of mine showed me recently called the Millennial Whoop, hoop, however you want to call it. Anyways, it's a pattern of melodies, and you can look these up. They're rampant on YouTube. People are pointing this out. They're screaming to the hilltops about how there's these they basically tapped into the human mind and cracked the algorithms, and they know exactly how to draw you in with their jingles, basically. And then they can attach whatever message they want to, like, oh, what's the catchphrase kids are into these days? We'll just go ahead and throw that slop in there, and while their faces are in the trough, they'll just lap it right up. And meanwhile, your culture goes to shit. Meanwhile, you're becoming homogenized and easily programmed. I'm getting conspiratorial here. Swore I wasn't going to do it, but it's getting there. But just food for thought, I guess. If just because it's catchy doesn't mean it's going to touch your soul, though, right? It's not really going to speak to you. It's just something to tie you over in regards to music, but never really move you emotionally. So, just encouraging you. If you haven't felt any goosebumps, you're doing music wrong. Yeah, there's so many avenues you can do to change that. That's about all I got. Again, we'll be back on later tonight. I'll be going on Facebook Live, and I will be talking about the details of the contest coming up here soon. You'll be able to win contents from Backwards. They just came out with their latest album. Got a lot of promotional gear they're putting out there. And I'm going to be hooking one lucky winner up with that. More details on that later. Thank you again for tapping into Critical Thoughts, breaking through the white noise, bringing the media that matters.